watching The Breakdown with the fight analyst, Garrett Kerman.
And welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown. I am your host, the fight analyst, Garrett Kerman, and with us is our man, our co-host of The Breakdown, Mr. Colin Crandall. What's up, man? How's it going?
All good, Garrett. All good. Keeping it all going, man. We're with you and me. We're holding on the West Coast and the East Coast, and I'm originally from the Midwest, so it's kind of we got all the coverage, man.
Go.
So
I love it.
Yep. Thank you, man. Happy to be here. I still got to get a beautiful background like you instead of this crappy apartment that one person mentioned in one of my broadcasts that wasn't this one. You know, it's not a crappy, messy apartment. This office is a little bit that way, but anyway, I'm happy to be here, man. Some interesting fights 2 days from now. Yay, big UFC 266 International Fight Week. There really isn't a lot of media opportunity, so even though it would have been great had I gone, I know we would have been approved by the UFC as usual, but we just couldn't make it this time. But hey, you and me are going to throw out our great thoughts together, man. The meetings of Gen X and Millennial, again, for super amazing results, putting cash in your pocket.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. We're putting cash in your pockets. Great fight card. Obviously, UFC 266 headline by Alexander Volkanovski looking to defend his title against Brian T. City Ortega. Going to be a great one there. The return of Nick Diaz. That's right. Nick Diaz is finally back at 185 pounds on, he actually had to go up in weight to 185 to take on Robbie Lawler. So that's interesting take.
Weird circumstances there. Not to slow you down. Isn't that weird circumstances? No. Want to gloss over that real quick? The fight was set for 170 and 1 week out, the Diaz camp said, we got to make this 85. And that's kind of effed up if you really think about it, because with 1 week out, Lawler was probably fairly deep into the weight cut. And I don't know exactly what, but
I don't think he was too deep. Normally, the week of a few days out, they're probably 15 to 20 pounds, out. So he's probably hovering around 185.
Yeah, I mean, it still gives Diaz the advantage, because if Diaz really wasn't cutting at all, which we don't know.
Right. No. Yeah. It don't look like he was cutting much if you look at his physique that he's got going on right now.
Right, exactly. Props to Robbie, though, for saying yes. I think a lot of guys would have been, screw that. Are you kidding me?
And it's not even just the weight. It's now a 5-round fight.
Oh, man. Wow. Talk about someone named Diaz trying to stack the deck in his favor. What the hell?
So now you're giving him 2 extra rounds, and you're giving him the 15-pound weight advantage that he wanted.
Crazy. We'll come back around to that, man. I can't wait to get into that with you, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no. We just wanted to recap. I know you had a really good weekend last weekend. So I've seen. I think you went 3-1, 4-1 on the night?
Yeah. I actually with official picks, I was 3-1. Although I think I can say anything because I didn't put it in Facebook. On official picks, it was early in the West Coast. I was up all night dealing with some problems with a relative, and so I didn't get up until the prelims were about over. But on the prelims, as far as what I talked about in the MMA Power Hour, I think I was 3-1 on the prelims as well. But yeah, it was a pretty darn good night. I don't know why. I knew when you and I talked. I didn't really have any call on the main event, and then last second I kind of went out on my Facebook picks and called Span. That was the only loss I had, and I remember saying I just there's no way to get a read on that card. But yeah, I was very happy with the results from that I picked from Yuan Kutalaba, from I can't believe I'm forgetting here. Yuan Kutalaba, Hannah Goldie, and then the other one that I had, let me see if I can take a look here, because it's going to be right up here. I'll get it in literally 10 seconds. Here it is. Okay. I had Buckley. Yep. Joaquin Buckley. And I was about to lose that one. My guy from...
You think he was going to lose that one?
It was close. I think he was getting...
I don't know, man. I think he would have. I don't know, man.
Close.
I think he won that fight regardless, even if he got the knockout, because he was the one that I felt like he was being the aggressor. Yeah. He was throwing more, he was landing more, but he wasn't very efficient with his strikes.
Right, he was missing a lot. He was winging a lot of punches, but I felt good about that. So those are some good wins. Also, I called Ariane Lipski, as you know, we talked about. Who knew what was going to happen there? But,
I messed up. Yeah, it wasn't a great night for me.
That's rare for you. That's rare.
I had some pretty bad beats like
Gravelly,
Holly.
though, go ahead.
You got Gravely. I thought he won the first round. He got the knockout, but instead of just walking away like Sean O'Malley type style, he decided to follow up some punches, and by doing so, actually woke him back up, grabbed a leg, and then they didn't call it. So
weird. It was weird circumstances.
So then his fight IQ just kind of went out the door. He's thinking, he's got blood in the water. He thinks he's going to go and finish him because he knocked him down the first one. And then he just went to brawl mode and started brawling with Nate Maness and gave him the best opportunity for him to win. He needed to keep it, keep mixing it up. And that's what kind of really got Maness, caught in the first place. But, it is what it is. Live and learn, but
no one put it this way, no one can question Nick's madness after that fight, can they?
No, I don't think they can. They can't. No, they can't question his manness. Nice. I see what you did there. All right, you're quick with it. You're very quick with these little dad jokes that you got going on there. But,
boom.
Yeah, and then you got Holly Alatang, who was up clear 29-28 in the first two rounds, and unfortunately, he goes for about 85 fence grabs, and he just wouldn't let go of the damn cage. If he just let go of the damn cage, he would have won the fight. So, some bad beats like that, bad bets on women MMA, it is what it is.
It is.
Panikianza didn't work out. Mandy Bone was just an awful pick. I'm just here to say it. That was stupid. That was a terrible pick.
Which one? Which was a bad one?
Mandy Bone over Ariane Lipski.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not trying to rub that in. That it was so hard to get a read on that. I just had a feeling the fact that she was 32 years old and from Germany. The fact that it's funny too, because after that fight, the picture with Dana and Ariane Lipski was almost like Dana was saying, "You thought I was getting rid of my gorgeous Brazilian fighter here? Nah." So I had that funny feeling, but who knows? Bottom line is it was hard to say. And a 7-0 fighter usually beats a fighter with a bunch of losses. But that's one of the weird things about MMA, man. It's so
anything
bizarre. Right?
Anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, literally. Yeah, literally, even though I'm old and you're not old, but if you and me met an MMA fighter who had just literally had a brain aneurysm a minute before and they were a heavyweight, we could probably beat their ass because they're in the middle of their brain dying and they can't see straight. So if you and me just came in there with a quick right and finished it up with a ground and pound, we could technically beat Francis Ngannou as long as he was having a heart attack or a stroke right when we ran into him. So God forbid.
Yes. All right.
You never know.
Yeah. All right. But at least I up that with another good contender series week. Finally, back-to-back weeks of winning ways on the contender series. Like I said, it's been my bread and butter. If Gaffarov didn't gas the hell out in week 2, I would have been 4-0 on contender series. But I'm lucky to get some of that money back on contender series, and we're looking to keep that momentum going this weekend. UFC 266 on tap, and we're here to break it down for you guys. So let's start off on the preliminary card, which I believe is in the featherweight division. This could be a banger between Omar Morales and Jonathan Pierce. Right now, Morales is a minus 155 favorite, and the comeback on Jonathan Pierce is a plus 130 underdog. Who do you got?
So this is an interesting fight. I actually first saw Jonathan Pierce fight in person at UFC on ESPN 6, Reyes versus Weidman. I was there in Boston. It was super, super cool. My first time there. And Joe Lozon, that was like the last hurrah for Joe Lozon. And even though probably if they fought now, Jonathan Pierce would beat him 9 times out of 10. Lozon had so much mojo going for him at home and fought with so much passion, and that he just caught him. But Pierce's next victory over Kai Kamaka third. I know the third.
That was impressive.
It was. Even though Kai has been cut from the UFC, I don't think that was fair. And I think Kai Kamaka is a UFC level fighter, and Pierce did beat him. Maybe not the highest of UFC level fighters,
I'm just saying he didn't get cut. It's just that they didn't re-sign him after his contract was up.
Gotcha.
So I didn't want people to think that he wasn't good enough and got cut. It's just they didn't want to.
They haven't. You can even say they haven't yet re-signed him, which they might. Like you said. But anyway, so the weird thing is, it's been a year, almost a year now, for Jonathan Pierce. He is 29 years old, 5'11", 145, a lanky featherweight from Fight Ready, representing the state of Tennessee, Elvis Presley's home state. And what a good record too, 10-4, and he's been doing almost nothing but winning lately. Against Omar Morales, so he's called JSP. Gotta love the originality of that one, right? JSP. How did he come up with that, Bosley? Right? And then we got Omar Morales, who's 11-1, another guy with a really good record, and he is 35 years old, 6-year age advantage to Pierce. However, the school, Sanford MMA, man, killing it the last few years. And he's also 5'11", 145, the Venezuelan fighter, they call him, from Caracas, Venezuela. Coming off a good win over Shane Young. He lost to Giga Chikadze, but didn't embarrass himself in that fight.
Looked good.
Yep, other than that, he beat Gabriel Benitez. He beat Dong Hyun Ma. And then, so he's on, wow. Yeah, he basically 11-1, and the one loss is to Giga Chikadze. So I would say the age, 35, is, let's face it, not in your prime at featherweight. At heavyweight, 35 is not that much out of your prime. At featherweight, it's way out of your prime. But he's a stud. He's in great shape. I would have to say I'm going to go for Morales, but the age is not. And I'm an older guy. I like these older fighters, as you know, but it concerns me. The odds makers have it Morales. Morales. The odds makers have it Morales about 1.5 to 1, 150, and the comeback plus 125. It's probably right. Those odds are probably right. Probably Omar Morales, but any minute he's going to get old. I don't think his ceiling is that much higher because of his age.
Yeah,
but
that's true. No, that makes sense. I totally agree there. I do like Morales. I think he's a much more technical striker, and that's I think he was a kickboxing champion over in Venezuela, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got a plethora of kickboxing background, nasty leg kicks. So Pierce is going to be hurting on that lead leg almost instantaneously. It's only going to take a couple. If you're not seeing the fight with Gabriel Benitez, my lord. You want to see a nasty cut? Go watch that fight and see the shin of Gabriel Benitez. That was disgusting. It was split wide open. You can almost see the bone. That's how bad it was just from checking leg kicks from Omar Morales. So, Morales got some power. He used to fight at 155. Now he's down to 145, and the dude is absolutely chiseled. He's got his muscles have muscles, and those muscles have muscles. That's how jacked this guy is. My only thing is I don't like his cardio is not all there for 3 rounds. He tends to slow down as the fight goes on. Saw that in the Giga Chikadze fight. You even saw in the Benitez fight where, he was getting hit a ton towards the later portions of the fight, but he banked the first 2 rounds. That last fight, Benitez basically had to finish him. With Pierce, I think Pierce he's shown that he's got some good cardio over the time. He showed that he's tough as well. We've seen it on the regional scene against my boy Peter Pendy's. He beat the dog shit out of him, but he was still there, beaten up, bloodied from the fight, but he was still there. And Pierce can put a pace and a pressure that it's really hard to match. And he's right now throwing 8.80 strikes per minute. That's almost triple the amount. Actually, he's landing. That's almost triple the amount that Omar Morales. Morales doesn't throw a ton of strikes. He tends to want to, counter strike most of the time and letting his opponents. Yeah, Morales. And so that's my only worry because of him slowing down and not throwing the volume. Right. But, I think he's going to be the one that's going to be hurting. Huh?
Yeah, he's got a lot of subs, though. Sorry to interrupt your flow, but I was just noticing that they're both finishers to an extent, with Morales being the guy that likes to finish by sub and Pierce being the guy that likes to finish by TKO. Not to try to interfere with your flow, but what would you think about maybe the prop of Morales by sub? Because Pierce has been subbed and Morales likes to sub people.
The thing is, I don't know. Morales by sub was plus 1,000.
Wow.
So they don't expect that to happen at all.
So $5 on that couldn't hurt. $10. That's what I'm going to do.
No, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
No, because it's just that Morales, from what we've seen, he barely attempts takedowns. And I think Pierce is, a pretty decent grappler. He's not going to want to even take it there because we saw Pierce against Kai Kamaka. He took him down and beat him up on the mat. I don't think Morales really wants to go that way. I think he'd rather want to keep it at distance, throw his heavy leg kicks, and and just possibly knock him out, which definitely could happen. But
so maybe just Morales by finish. I'm curious. I'll let you talk from here. What's your thought as far as bet and prop, if any?
Yeah, I would probably go Morales to win. It's just I'm not overly confident because if Pierce wins, would I be surprised? Not so much, because it's exactly what would probably happen. He'll probably drown him towards the later portion of the fight because of his cardio will be better, because he'll throw more volume, and because he'll be landing more. So
6 years younger too.
Yeah. So I think Morales wins because I do think he's the more technically better fighter. It just comes down to his cardio. If his cardio stays true for all 3 rounds, I think he should be able to win.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Next up, we have a fight at 170 pounds between Matthew Semmelsberger and UFC debuter Martin Sano Jr., who's a training partner, one of 2 training partners on this card of Nick Diaz. Right now, Semmelsberger is a massive second biggest favorite on the card. Yeah, second biggest favorite. Jeez. Second biggest favorite at -520, and the comeback on Sano Jr. is +370. Who do you got?
So I had Matthew on the show a couple weeks ago. Great chat with him. I've been a big fan of his for a while. That last fight of his could have gone either way. He was a real gentleman, and when I asked him about it on the interview, he said, "Nope, Chaos beat me in that fight fair and square. I was just a little bit flat. Chaos just had the perfect strategy against me." And I'm from Michigan. Chaos fights out of Murcielago in Lansing, Michigan. I grew up in Ann Arbor and Detroit, and still I felt Matthew Semmelsberger could have been given the decision there. Semmelsberger is an amazing fighter. We had a great chat about the fact that he played football for many years, free safety, and he felt not only does football have a good place in preparing someone for an MMA career, like most of us already believe anyway, but he felt that the defensive positions like free safety, like he did, really helped even more, because going in there and tackling, going in there and having the impact, the contact, but also looking at the read of movement of the offensive players has helped him. And he's just a beast. Matthew Semmelsberger is the kind of guy that no one's going to go in there and embarrass him. He's just strong. His chin is strong. He's only 28 years old. His cardio is good. He's a physically strong man. He can strike and he can wrestle. Anyway, this fight he really should win. It's just such a bizarre fight, though. You take a Nick Diaz training partner who has only 6 fights. He's 30 years old. He's got only 6 fights, and his first fight was in 2012, and his last fight was in 2017. So, without Nick Diaz saying, "I want Martin on this card," this dude's not on this card. This dude's lucky if he's over in the LFA or CES or.
I don't think that.
You disagree with that?
Yeah, I don't think even be in LFA. That's how bad. That's how bad this guy is.
You're agreeing just to an even greater extent. Yeah. He would be. You're right. He would probably be in King of the Cage or somewhere back in New Jersey in the back lot of near the Turnpike or something like that. Fight, But anyway, however, if the guy was complete garbage, he wouldn't be still training at the Diaz Academy. If the guy was going to come in there and completely embarrass Nick Diaz, I don't think he'd be on the card. Is he going to come and beat? Is he going to come and beat my boy Semi the Jedi? I don't think so, nor do the odds makers. But I have a feeling he's maybe not going to get embarrassed. But he might. Matthew Semmelsberger for sure for the win. Maybe Semmelsberger by stoppage. And Semmelsberger is so good that even if Martin Sano, after 4 years of inactivity, only 6 fights, even if the dude is a stud, Semmelsberger's either going to beat him fairly easily or he's going to completely annihilate him, in my opinion. But there may be a couple of scares. He's going to know his jits for sure. But, I think Matthew's just too good and too fresh. And the younger man fought much more recently, more fights. Yeah, I don't see where Sano wins this,
Yeah. I'm not going to go too much into this because It's minus 520. Not betting it. Semmelsberger couldn't ask for a more cupcake, matchup to get a win in the UFC. If you want to get right win, you're taking out a guy that's 4-2-1 and hasn't fought in 4 years.
Yeah,
facing low level competition. So should be an easy win, but then again, it's MMA. Anything can happen. Don't put him in your parlays. Maybe if you want to bet him by knockout, minus 135, not terrible line, pretty decent. You get it all the way down from minus 500 to minus 135.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I can possibly see doing. Maybe the under 1.5 rounds as well, which I believe is lined at. They don't even have the over under yet, but I would assume it would be 1.5, and it would be like minus 125 or something like that. But yeah, that's the only place I have. There's not much really to look into it because I don't expect Sino to really win this fight
and we have no idea to know. We have no idea to understand what Sano has. Hey, let me react. I got a comment, a compliment by Simon Banks saying I'm random. Will we swear on here, or do you want us not to?
No, you can swear. It's fine.
All right. He said, I'm random, Colin. Haha, you random as fuck. It's hilarious. Thank you. I appreciate you, Simon. That means a lot to me because I always was kind of a funny guy, but I know once in a while it can translate to being silly or dumb as fuck, and I'm trying to avoid that and actually make people laugh. So it does my heart good to hear the praise. I'm glad I'm making you laugh with my random shit, Simon, and I appreciate you being here, brother. Back to you, fight analyst.
That's my man, Simon Banks. He's always here for the podcast, and I thank him always for showing up and supporting the show. But next up, we have a fight at 185 pounds between two UFC debuters, two that were supposed to fight on the Contender Series this season. So they're very familiar with each other, and they're ready to throw down. And that's a fight between Nick Maximov, a second Nick Diaz training partner, and Cody Brundage. Right now, Maximov is a minus 170 favorite, and the comeback on Brundage is a plus 136 underdog. Actually, it looks like the line is more minus 150 on Maximov and plus 130 on Cody Brundage. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm even seeing higher. I see one book even has it minus 210 Maximov.
Really?
So it's, all over the board. So let's look at this. Maximov, another Diaz fighter. This one, however, is not 35, but he's actually, in my opinion, one of the guys, an age that guys don't tend to win that much. It was 23, unless your name is John Jones. 23, though, he's undefeated, 5'11". They list him at 195, which means he's probably fought at middleweight.
He's fought at 205, and he's fought heavyweight as well in his Contender Series fight.
Wow.
He gave up 60 pounds in the 40 or 45 pounds in his Contender Series fight, I believe.
Crazy. And that was his last fight against Oscar Cota. 5'11", he's not a tall guy for a heavier weight class, but at 185, he should be a very strong guy, undefeated. He did win in the Contender Series before that. He has a couple wins at King of the Cage, which is respectable, and a win at LFA. And other than that, he fought at different crazy places out there in Northern California. Tough dude, 23 years old, super young, training with the Diaz's. This probably is the guy that's for real between him and Martin Sano, although, like I said, you never know. Sano may have some chops. But let's take a look at his opponent here. Cody Brundage, Michigan boy. His wife was the former UFC fighter Amanda Bobby Cooper.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Now known as Amanda Brundage. And she was very tough in her own right. He is a Factory X guy now. 6'1", 185, so a little bit taller, 27 years old, which is really a perfect age to be. He did lose to William Knight by being stopped in the Contender Series. He went back and picked up a good win in the LFA and was just picked up here probably on somewhat short notice. It's so hard to say. Factory X versus an undefeated Nick Diaz student. 6-1 versus 6-0. Odds makers are absolutely, to a good extent, feeling Maximov, and I'm going to go for Cody Brundage in this one. I think Michigan Boy takes it. I think he's going to have more maturity. If he loses and Martin Sano loses and Nick Diaz loses, that'll be a sad day because it'll be 0-3 for the Diaz school, which is, I think, a really decent possibility, although who knows what's going to happen with Diaz and Waller. But I'm going to go for my Michigan boy, Cody Brundage here, but I don't know that I put much money on it. But I do think he's going to have more maturity and is got a little length on his side, and but both young men, and it should be a banger.
Yeah, I'm actually looking very much forward to this fight. I was looking forward to it when it was announced for the Contender Series because I'm big fans of both these guys. Cody Brundage, high level wrestler, D1 wrestler, so he's got that wrestling pedigree. He's shown it. He's taken down William Knight, and he was beating the shit out of him in that fight until he gassed down in that round one, because that's normally what happens in Contender Series fights, as we've seen. And Willie Knight was able to reverse position and land some heavy ground and pound, and that was it in round one. But other than that, he's fought good competition on the regional scene. Even as an amateur, he's fought Dalton Costa. He's fought Brian Battle as well. He trains out of a good camp with some really good fighters. I know Diaz Academy, they got some good fighters too. But as far as UFC caliber, UFC talent, the only guys there is Nick and Nate Diaz, and they don't fight a whole lot. So, and I'm high on Nick Maximov because I love his jiu-jitsu. He's always staying active with his jiu-jitsu. My knock on him is he hasn't fought at 185 until he was an amateur. He's never fought at 185 as a professional. So we don't know how his cardio is going to be at 185 pounds. His last fight, he didn't cut any weight. I think he was like 220 something. Just taking a short notice Contender Series fight at heavyweight. So, it's going to be interesting. I know Cody Brundage, I know he's taking on short notice, but he already knows this opponent. He was already game planning for Nick Maximov. He already knew his game. So if this line tends to get steamed the opposite direction and Maximov gets to a higher favorite, I might take a shot on the dog here because of the familiarity between the two and how Maximov is going to want to grapple, but Brundage will welcome it. I don't see him getting a submission. I think Brundage will be able to win position and stay heavy on top because I like normally heavy high level D1 wrestlers or even Russian Dagestani wrestlers over a jiu-jitsu guy.
A great top pressure. Amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and also I think Cody Brundage is a much, much better striker than Maximov. Maximov's striking is extremely underdeveloped. He still needs a lot of work in the striking department. So if Brundage even wants to just keep this fight on the feet, which I think he should have the advantage all day as long as he can defend the takedowns, not get tripped, not give up his back. But then again, it's a Diaz brother. They're very slick on the mat. And I would not be surprised if he gets submitted. But I would need a good dog money play to hit that Brundage play. So I'm waiting to see if there's any steam on Maximov. I'm hoping there is just a little bit. Maybe I could get plus 175, plus 180, and then I'll take a stab. But I think Brundage might be the play, might be the upset.
I like it too. I like it.
All right. Next up, we have a fight at 170 pounds between Uros Medic, I believe, and Jalen Turner. Right now, Medic is a minus 125 favorite in the comeback on Turner. It's a plus 105 underdog. Who do you got?
Gotcha. So Medic is a King's MMA product, and they are killing it. Coach Rafael Cordero with Benil Dariush over there and Giga Chikadze, as well as Kevin Gastelum and Nasrat Hakparast and several other people there. The guy that lost to Izzy, what's his name again? Marvin Vittori. Even though he lost, still he's a killer. So this guy's the doctor here is a member of that amazing team at 155. He's probably getting amazing training with Benil and Giga. 7-0. He has just it's just stoppage after every fight is a stoppage. He's 7-0 with 7 stoppages, and that includes
You also have to take into account 5 of those fights were in Alaska FC.
Right. I hadn't come to that part yet, but yeah, this is a good point. So we got a bunch of no names, but it looks like he's got five TKOs and 2 subs. He's got an amazing team there. He's 28 years old, a perfect age. He's like right starting his prime, or just maybe a little bit into his prime for a lightweight, and just, I would say, a really good looking prospect. And he is going against the more experienced fighter. Jalen Turner has double the amount of fights that Medic has, and I think Jalen's a similar age, isn't he? Let's see, Jalen is 26, 2 years younger. Jalen is 6'3" for a lightweight. The Tarantula has got those tarantula legs. I've talked to him a few times on my show. So 6'3" against 6'1", both pretty tall, rangy lightweights, though, especially Turner. Turner is a good fighter, but he does have some hiccups sometimes. He did lose to Vicente Luque. That you can't call anything that a hiccup. Vicente Luque, who I also interviewed on my show, is a beast. I've always said that he's a killer. He may be the champion one day. No shame in that. And then a loss against Matt Frivola, also a guy I've interviewed before who is super tough. But coming off of a 2-fight win streak against Josh Kulabau, who he stopped in the second round by TKO, and Brock Weaver, who's no longer in the promotion, who he subbed. Man, this is a hell of a fight. This is 2 young dudes that are going to be throwing down. It's going to be a sick fight. It makes sense that the odds are pretty close. I just think, though, that the Kings MMA team member here, Medic, might really be the absolute real deal. And I'm going to go for Medic here. It's going to be a banger, though. I think that that the fight probably will be not going the distance, because every fight for Medic does not go the distance. And Jalen actually has 8 stoppages out of his 10 wins. So tell me I'm curious what the odds are. There's probably no money to be made on the fight does not go the distance, or either guy by stoppage, or is there? It's got to be what, plus 120 or minus 120 or something. But
well, as far as the fight goes to a decision doesn't go a decision is minus 180. So that's actually a pretty good prop.
Yeah, I like that. And prop.
Our man Simon over here is asking what our thoughts are on the under 2.5 round prop for Medic and Turner.
Love it. I love it personally, Simon. How about you, Garrett?
I think so too. And minus 143 from what I've seen, minus 140 at under 2.5 rounds. I think that's pretty safe, considering, when you look at Medic, I'm pretty sure he's not gone. He's not got out of the round 1 yet in his career.
Let's see. I didn't even notice that, but let's see. He did once. One of his fights got to round 2, 51 seconds into round 2.
Okay, so the most he's ever fought was 5 minutes and 52 seconds in one single fight. So there's a question mark lies. If this fight gets out of round 1, how is Medic going to fight in rounds 2 and 3 against an experienced fighter in Jalen Turner, who's gone the distance before? So it's gonna be tough. I don't want to bet in this fight because of the intangibles that are unknown. I don't want to guess that he has cardio for 15 minutes. We don't know that. We're guessing. I do think he's a better fighter. I think he has more upside. I think his ceiling is a lot higher than Jalen Turner as well. But if Turner doesn't get finished in round 1 and he makes some work, there's a possibility that Turner could win. So
yeah.
But with that said, I would pick Medic to win, but I'm not betting on this fight.
Right.
I don't like betting on intangibles that I just don't know. I can't do it.
And I've always agreed with that. But I just think the fact that he's a Kings product, the fact that Benil and Giga are such nice guys and generous guys and like teachers in their own right, they're probably really, showing.
I mean, that's good and all, but did you watch the Contender Series this last week?
No, I did not.
Kings MMA product that fought very similar to Euros Medic lost.
Oh, was that? No, that wasn't the wrestler, the Edgar guy, was it?
No, that's Ricardo Almeida. That's like literally Frankie Edgar's like clone.
Did that guy end up losing, by the way? He did probably, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
it sucks. What I can say is this. Back in the 90s about Medic, you look at his nickname and say he's the motherfucking doctor. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. The doctor.
Oh, it's medic, right? Yeah,
he's the doctor. Yep. So he's going to go in there and do some surgery, in my opinion. So I know it's going to be a tough fight. Jalen is very, very tough and unusually lanky, but not skinny, but just lanky and a big guy. He probably cuts a shit ton of weight, and he's going to give it his all. The Tarantula is a beast. So I have a little bit more confidence in Medic than you in this case. But I know it's a scary fight. I wouldn't put much on it, maybe one unit. But yeah, that's it's going to be the fact that it probably won't go the distance is probably a really good bet.
Yeah, that and the other 2.5 rounds definitely.
Yeah, right.
I like.
As Simon
All
mentioned.
Right. Next up, we have a fight in the women's flyweight division between Taila Santos and Roxanne Modafferi. Right now, Santos is the -420 favorite, and the comeback on Modafferi is a +310 underdog. Yeah.
So Taila Santos has been looking like a beast. How many people in women's MMA in the UFC have a record of 17-1? Nobody except her. And what is she, like 5-1 in the UFC? Let me see. No, actually just 3-1. Well, you know what? One was a split decision. She, in her UFC debut, she probably had a little bit of an adrenaline dump, and the bright lights got to her a little bit, as she did lose to Mara Romero Barella, who isn't that good, but it was a split decision. And had she not lost a split decision, she'd be 17-0. She really put a punishment on Molly McCann and on Jillian Robertson.
And Jillian Robertson.
And Jillian Robertson, yeah. She's a beast, and she's 28 years old, perfect age. She's legit, AF, as millennials say in text. And she's a beast and charismatic fighter. And wow, look at all those stoppages. What the hell? So she's got 17 wins, and she's got 10 by KO and 2 by sub. So 12 stoppages and 17 wins. That's almost boxing numbers. That's really great, like 80%, 75% stoppage. And that's especially rare for women. Roxanne Modafferi is the veteran. She is the pioneer. She trains so hard over there at Syndicate in Las Vegas. I'm going to guess she's been a pro for 20 years. Let me take a quick look. She's been a pro since 2003, 18 years. I was close. So many years having to fight at 135 because there was no 125 anywhere. She did take some beatings in those days, but then she really reinvented herself. It just sucks that Father Time catches up with us all. And if the UFC could have created a flyweight division 5 years earlier, Roxanne Modafferi may have been champion probably before Shevchenko was old enough to be there. But it didn't turn out that way, and now she's 38 years old, but she's about to be 39, actually. Tomorrow she'll be 39. She's fighting a day after her birthday. Wow. This is a big ask. This is a really big ask. She lost to Viviane Araújo, and Araújo is a beast in her own right, but doesn't seem to be as good as Santos. And I just don't know. I tell you this, if Santos is cocky or goes in there thinking she's just going to completely own Roxanne Modafferi and goes in there thinking she's just going to, play with her food, then, she's in big trouble. Don't disrespect the veterans like that, because Roxanne Modafferi probably has forgotten more than Taila Santos will ever know in her MMA career, so don't mess with a veteran as far as being reckless. But if Santos does know that and goes in there and stays focused, she really should win. In fact, in all honesty, if Taila Santos has a sister or a brother or coaches that are really, really honest with her, they'll probably say, look, this is your test. If you can't beat this over-the-hill girl who doesn't have a lot of snap on her punches and is not very fast anymore, then you're not beating anyone in the top upper echelon of the UFC. So go beat this girl, beat the brakes off this girl, and we'll get out with our business. And I think that's what she's going to probably do.
Yeah, I'm with you in that. I don't think I really need to get into it too much, because we already know what Modafferi can and can't do. She can't strike and she can grapple. Santos can do both. So she can keep the fight in the feet. And I really do like Santos by KO or TKO at +350 or 300, whatever line you got on that. Go bet that shit.
Yeah, Yeah.
Go bet that. She is going to light up Modafferi on the feet. Light her up. Because Modafferi doesn't move her head. She moves everything else, but she doesn't move her head.
Right.
Leaves her head on the center line. Santos has some really good, powerful punches. Very quick, very fast. And she should be able to land on her early and often. And I'm taking Santos to win by knockout.
Yeah, I'll hate to see it, but I expect to see it.
I know. I'm a fan of Roxanne, and I don't like seeing her lose. But from a betting perspective, I'm betting on Santos to win by knockout, especially if you're giving me over 3-1 odds on that.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I think they're
looking at 10 knockouts. She's got 10 knockouts, and then like you said, she's 39 years old, and she gets hit a ton.
Yeah. The only thing is
for disaster.
The only thing is she's only been stopped. You know what? She was stopped by Barb Honchak, but other than Barb Honchak, I think she's only been stopped by bantamweights. So there's that as far as there being a little.
Yeah, but Tyler Santos is basically a bantamweight.
She really is. She's huge.
She's
really
jacked. She's jacked.
Yeah.
She's 5. She's not small. She's what 5. She's 5'6", so she's the same height.
Yep.
Right?
Approximately. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. She's young. She's just right in her prime. And like I said, this is a fight that she knows she shouldn't. If she's gonna be great, if she's gonna be as good as she thinks she is, and her record shows, she shouldn't really struggle that much with Roxanne Modafferi. Only problem she would have is if she gets so relaxed that Roxanne takes her down, because Roxanne actually does have some grappling licks. It's just that her speed is kind of gone, and her age and her strength is not as great as it was. But if Santos is goofing around and thinks that she's going to let Roxanne Modafferi get a superior position on top, don't do that, because there's some danger there.
I don't think she's going to come in there, relaxed and not care, because she knows that she's a contender. In the UFC. She's 17-1. She's on a tear right now. Beating Molly McCann and Jillian Robertson the way that she did was impressive. Shit happens against Romero Barella.
Right.
She would beat the shit out of her if they fought
she would.
again.
9 times out of 10.
It wouldn't even be remotely close. She'd finish her.
And she may have won that fight with a split decision. So and that was her UFC debut against a girl who had like 4 UFC fights.
Right. So I got Santos here. I'm taking her by knockout. And plus 300, plus 350, whatever you got. That's definitely my play on this one.
With you, 100%.
All right. Next up, we have a fight in the heavyweight division between Chris Daukaus and Shamil Abdurakhimov. Okay, Abdurakhimov. Right now, Daukaus is a -225 favorite, and the comeback on, I'm going to say Shamil, plus 175. Who do you got?
Sounds good. So we were going to have Chris on our show again. He was on the MMA Power Hour about 6 months ago. He really wanted to try to make it on the show this past Tuesday, but UFC threw him last second media obligations in person, and he couldn't. But we'll have him when we return in mid-October for the MMA Power Hour Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Anyway, so we got a 40-year-old Dagestani heavyweight. I don't know that he's ever had anything to do with AKA. I don't think so, and I can't tell where the hell he trains. It shows he's at Paris Vet FT. I'm starting to think SureDog just figures, you know what? I know you guys like to use our site as a reference site, so we're going to put complete crap as far as where some of these guys train. And one guy said, "What would be a good name?" And the guy said, "I think
it's Perez Vet. It's Perez Vet FT."
Is that something you've heard of, really?
No, but okay, it's definitely a gym.
Yeah, Perez Vet. So who knows where the hell he trains? He's probably training at an American Top Team or somewhere good, but we don't know. 40 years old, even at heavyweight, is not a good age to be. Although it doesn't mean you're dead. He's not dead. He's old, but he's not dead. He basically came over to the UFC. Wow, look how far 6 years ago. And actually,
he looks like a lot older than 40, though.
Yeah, I know. A lot of these Russian guys do. I'm definitely older than 40, and this guy looks older than me, and he's just 40. Anyway, his losses, though, check this. He's had like 9 fights in the UFC, actually 8. He's 5-3, but listen to his 3 losses. Timothy Johnson, who actually did a lot of good work in the UFC and then did a lot of good work in Bellator, almost became their champion. Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades. He did get stopped by all of them, even though, in fairness, his first fight was Timothy Johnson, and then getting stopped by Derek Lewis is not unusual, and losing by stoppage to Curtis Blades is not that unusual. He's beaten everyone else. He's got wins over Anthony Hamilton, Walt Harris, Chase Sherman, Andrei Arlovsky, and Marcin Tybura. And in fact, I think he was probably the last guy to beat Tybura before Tybura went on this absolutely killer 5 or 6 fight win streak. So he's a beast. There's no joke. At 6'3", 261 pounds, he's a big heavyweight. He probably walks around at 280 or 275, if not more. His opponent, Chris Daukaus, my boy, Chris Daukaus of the Daukaus brothers, he and Kyle, 31 years old, 9 years younger, 6'2", not as heavy a guy, walks around probably in the 240s, 230s, and usually fights in the mid 230s, low 240s. So he'll be giving away maybe 20 pounds. He's got about half as many fights, 14 fights overall against 25 fights. A lot less experience than the 40-year-old, but he's on a great streak as well. He's 3-0 in the UFC, and odds makers, not odds makers, but matchmakers or people that make the rankings feel enough confidence in him that he has been placed as number 10 at heavyweight because of wins over. Oh, wow. He's 3-0 in the UFC, all 3 by stoppage, and all 3. Wow. Look at, he's actually had like 8 or 9 knockouts in a row. So he's been killing it. And he knocked out Parker Porter, Rodrigo Nascimento, and Alexei Olenek. Tough fight. Odds makers, like you said, are looking at Daukaus as a fairly substantial favorite. I like Chris. I think he's going to do it. He should win, but I'm not going to put money on this fight. Rakhimov is a beast. These Dagestani guys are absolutely strong as bears because they wrestle bears. And Chris, this is a good test for Chris.
Yeah, it is.
I think a bet might be that this fight does go the distance, although that's kind of almost bizarre and contraindicated to ever do in a heavyweight fight. You're almost an idiot if you do that. But what is it? There's got to be money that this fight goes the distance. Like what, plus 300 maybe?
Let's see. It plus 172.
Okay, so not as much money as I thought, but I like that bet. Call me crazy. I like that bet. I think this is going to be a hard, gritty fight where both guys are in there throwing. The only thing that I think could possibly let Daukaus stop this if it's just his speed and his youth comes in handy, if just the recovery ability is that much different, which it kind of should be between a 31-year-old and a 40-year-old. But, Rakhimov is a beast. And these Dagestani guys at 40, you're not done. I read somewhere when a guy was reacting to the Evander Holyfield loss, and he said, I'm 58 like Holyfield, and when I was 45 like Vitor Belfort, he said, I felt like a kid compared to how I feel now. And so there is a difference, and I think 40, as you'll find out almost a decade from now, isn't the death sentence. At 40, you're not going to have people help you across the street. Guaranteed. As long as you're taking care of yourself, you'll still be able to be the guy running across the street at 40, and everything will be fine. And so Rakhimov is not an old man yet, but he's probably a little too old to keep up with Chris Daukaus, but he's gonna go in there to kill, and it's gonna be a good fight, I feel.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. It's just hard to bet on Shamil in this fight. I know he's got some really quality wins, but he hasn't won in 27 months.
But he only loses to the best. He only loses to the best guys, though.
Right, but Daukaus is pretty much on that level at this point. Yes. Really, I mean, he hasn't fought anyone in over 2 years. Now he's 40, coming off a 2-year layoff.
Yeah,
I don't like betting on people that are 40 years old, let alone when they're regularly fighting. Yeah. I don't like betting a 40-year-old coming off a 2-year layoff as well.
Yeah, he could have lost his step easily from his last fight.
He's not overly efficient on the feet. He's only landing 2.45 strikes per minute, and obviously we know Chris Daukaus his numbers are outrageous because he's been knocking everybody out. Doesn't have a ton of fight time either. His average fight time is only 2 minutes and 33 seconds.
That's right.
23
4
seconds.
knockouts in the first round. I didn't even realize that. So in UFC, he's 3-0, all 3 by knockout or TKO, and all 3 in the first round. Wow.
Right, and all under 3 minutes, no less.
Right. Wow. Yep.
Yeah. So,
Crazy.
there leaves a little bit of a problem because now you have to factor in if this gets out of the first round, how is his cardio going to be doing against a Dagestani type of, grinding wrestling type fighter? And that's why I kind of don't want to lay the chalk at minus 225, especially on heavyweights. And I feel like everybody's betting Chris Daukaus. It could be the mush type of play of the week. And I'd rather just avoid it at all costs and just watch and hope Chris gets the win. I do think he should win. I do think he should be heavily favored. But, like I said, if there's some intangibles that I don't know, there's some unknowns that I don't want to gamble on. I especially am not taking chalk on some unknowns that I don't know.
Yeah. I would put like a half a unit on Daukaus, and I would put like maybe a half a unit or a full unit that the fight does go the distance. Although that's not, if I'm super excited about something, I'll put like 3 units on it. And so that's how excited I'm not talking about a half unit or 1 unit, on the fact that it goes the distance. But I have a feeling it's going to be it's going to be two bulls really gonna a ram and a bull smashing their head into each other.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good one. All right. So next up, we have a fight at 155 pounds between Dan Hooker and Nasrat Haqparast. Right now, Hooker's a minus 150 favorite on the comeback on Haqparast is a plus 125 underdog.
Okay. I know we're trying to keep this so it doesn't go too long, and I don't want to be the one responsible for constantly making it longer by all this chatter. So I'm going to make my contribution on this one more brief. Haqparast is a very, very, very tough guy, 13-3. He's only 26 years old, and he has 16 fights. That's freaking awesome. A lot of them in the UFC, 7 of them in the UFC, and he's only 26 years old. That's very unusual, but it's a good thing. The story of like Beneil Dariush and Vicente Luque are like that. They got a really good break to be really young in the UFC, and now they're still young and they're so experienced. He did lose years ago in his first UFC fight to the Pole, Marcin Held, who was a submission god, especially at that time, and he did not get subbed. He did get caught by my boy Drew Dober, who had in the show a few times, and there's no shame in that. Drew was on a real good killing streak then as well. But he has come back with 2 good wins over Alex Munoz and Rafa Garcia. And Dan Hooker has had a lot of distraction here. New Zealand was not wanting him to be able to get the visa to leave. Them in Australia, just like California, are caught in this complete bullshit, in my opinion, as far as trying to still act like this is a freaking 100% insane state of emergency where people are turning into zombies all over the place, and they're not. But anyway, I hope he shows up. A lot of stress and a lot of distraction. He's having to write emails and post on Twitter to beg the New Zealand government to let him go. I really hope this fight happens. It looks like it's going to happen, but will that distraction bother Hooker? Not only that, but Hooker needs this win. I would hope he wouldn't get cut off of a loss, but if he just signed his new contract before Poirier, and if he loses this fight, having lost to Poirier and Chandler, he could be 3 and out. They could basically, tell him, go back to New Zealand. We don't need you anymore if he loses this fight. So a lot of pressure on Dan Hooker, 6 feet, 155, 31 years old. So he's the older man, but still right in his prime against 5'10", 155. He's the longer guy, as always. Odds makers looking at Hooker as a slight favorite. I like Dan Hooker here, but Haqparast is a tough guy. I would probably make a half a unit bet on Dan Hooker. He should win. He needs to win. The pressure's on him, and I think he will win, but it's not going to be without a couple of scares.
Yeah, I see the same as well. It's going to be a good fight, and I think it's going to be a banger of a fight. Both of these guys had trouble getting their visas, getting over to the States. Haqparast, I believe, just landed not too long ago in Vegas right today, and then he has to cut weight right now to make weight tomorrow for 155 pounds, no less. So you're making these guys travel across country, get there only 24 hours in advance, and have them cut to 155 pounds instead of having a catch weight at 165 or
They
170.
should have, yeah. It's all bad.
Because they're still in the 155-pound division. It doesn't matter,
No,
Let them fight, and you count as a 155 match. It doesn't really matter.
They should have. Yeah, I think this favors the younger man, though, Hakparast, who's 5 years younger, as far as his body cooperating with him, and
maybe.
And not only that, but Hooker looks like a tall, lean guy. But because he's so tall, I think he is cutting some weight to make 55. And yeah, this could be a problem. I'd be curious to see what happens. But go ahead and continue. It's almost like a no bet fight. This is
this is definitely a stay away fight. I do think Dan Hooker wins. I think he should be able to win. I just don't like not being able to train full time. He was locked down in his house. He was only able to get in two to 3 full weeks of camp, with his team. And then he was just pretty much working at home for 3-4 weeks. I don't know how much Nazrat Hakparast was also able to train because his mother passed away a few weeks ago. So he darted out to Germany and he's been stuck there ever since. So he probably only trained a few weeks as well. So you got two guys with half a training camp going against each other, having to cut weight in 24 hours. It's just a crazy turn of events for these two guys to get this fight on. I feel like they definitely should have pushed it back, but and from interviews that I've heard, Dan Hooker, this is the only chance for him to fight. It's either he fights now or he has to wait till next year because he won't be able to get back into Australia.
No,
they said because it's like it's some type of drawing lottery, to go and come back. So if he misses that flight back, he has to fly back on that certain day. If he misses that flight back, he might not ever, be able to go back for another 3 years.
I mean, that sounds like a spacecraft trying to enter back in the Earth atmosphere, where you literally have to hit it at the right spot, or else you bounce off the atmosphere. I mean, they're making it so insane. It's like a space shuttle to get back into Australia. You have to get back on this certain day, and you have to make sure that your hair is darker than light brown, and you can't be wearing blue jeans, or else you have to go back 2 years to get back in the country. Come the hell on. I mean, this is just insanity. People are furious.
Yeah, it's bad.
In the continent of Australia. But anyway, yeah, Dan Hooker in a close fight, but hard to see any props or anything to really.
Yeah, I'd rather just stay away. There's nothing really that screams bet me on this fight,
Agreed.
So
I was going to say this though. I was going to say this. Our friend in Germany, real quick. The one thing you can do that Hooker could do if he wanted to get Hakparast angry is call him a Schweinhund, which is a pig dog in German. Now, it doesn't sound like that would be that bad, but apparently in Germany, people get crazy. They get batshit crazy if you call them a Schweinhund. They really don't like it.
I know not to use that term when I go to Germany, wherever the hell that will be. No,
unless you want to get into some fights or have a German attack you with weapons. And so that might be Dan Hooker. If you're watching, Dad, when you go to touch the glove, say, hey, Schweinhund. To Hakparast and get him crazy, man. He'll be seeing red. I'm telling you. Anyway, Simon, that was for you. I hope you like that one, but it's true. Anyway, okay. Garrett, next up. Who do we have next?
All right. Next up is our first fight on the main card in the bantamweight division between Marlon Moraes and Merab Dvalishvili. Right now, Merab is a minus 250 favorite, and the comeback on Moraes is a plus 198 underdog.
Okay, let me take a look at one thing here. These are both East Coasters like yourself, and Moraes is training out of ATT. That's right. He went to ATT about 2 years ago, and I remember for his first fight, I was there. I interviewed his coach, Conan Silveira, in person, and I forgot who he was fighting in that fight. I think it was Jose Aldo. Anyway, he used to be fighting over there with, I think, Mark Henry and
Ricardo Almeida and that.
Yeah, Sanford MMA, I think, around with them or other schools.
No, Ricardo Almeida and Nick Catone up in.
Right, Catone, and there's also Sarah Longo is there. A lot of those guys will help each other out along with the Sanford MMA. He's at ATT now, though, and he is on a losing streak of 2 fights. He's lost 3 out of 4. Some people feel that Henry Cejudo fight broke him, which is unfortunate. And I don't think so.
I think it did. I think
to an extent. I mean, and you know what? It's that's the fight that made Henry Cejudo a legend. The fact that he was getting schooled. I know an MMA media guy who's a good friend of Cejudo's, and he was watching that fight saying, "Oh man, Henry is not looking very good here." And then he just stepped on the gas, and it was like super. He went from Henry Cejudo to Henry Cejudo 5.0. Turning in Super Saiyan. And becoming Goku.
That was impressive.
Goku and Vegeta, yeah, it was amazing, all at once. And but anyway, a split victory over Jose Aldo, and then Jose Aldo gets the title shot. I wonder if that kind of emotionally hurt him as well, because a lot of people are saying, "What the fuck? How do you beat a guy and then he gets a title shot?" Anyway, it was a close fight. Corey Sandhagen caught him with that spinning wheel kick. And then to make matters worse, they had him fight just 2 months later. I always hate that. A guy gets knocked the fuck out, and then you make him fight 2 months later.
You see this? You see the chat right now?
Colin, Crandall, or Tim Kennedy. Michael, thank you. I appreciate that. I take it as a compliment because Tim Kennedy, definitely a younger guy, probably better looking than me. And so if I'm a Tim Kennedy, I'm thanking you. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. Tim is awesome. He would beat me in a fight in about 18 seconds or 9 seconds, depending on if I ran fast away from him or not. But always love Tim Kennedy. Thank you for that comment. Anyway, so yeah, I don't like when they bring a guy to fight 2 months after getting knocked out, but they did. This fight, I mean, Merab is training with guys that I think Marlon used to train with. Yeah, he's over there at Cerro Longo. I haven't been able to look into it. I've been really busy, and even if I did, I don't know if I would have found people that would have told me. But I gotta believe they know each other and had some looks with each other at some points. Either that, or if they didn't have some looks with each other at some points, I gotta believe they were in the same training gym physically on at least a few occasions. Merab is a killer wrestler. Merab has just been beating everybody ever since he lost to Frankie Saenz and Ricky Simone. Saenz, I think, might be out of the promotion, although he's a tough guy. For a while, he was looking good. Ricky Simone is definitely not out of the promotion. He is a killer and one weight division lower now, right? Or is he still staying at bantamweight? Simone?
No, Simone is still at 135.
Okay,
He's got a fight coming up, too, against Rafael Assunção.
Oh, wow. Great. I love it. Anyway, so ever since that fight, Merab has beaten good people. Terrion Ware, Brad Katona, Casey Kenny, Gustavo Lopez, John Dodson, Cody Stamen. He is a decision machine. That's the only rip on him. He's a short guy. He's got the T-Rex arms kind of, so he doesn't have a lot of extension or a lot of snap. He's an amazing wrestler, though. He's as close to a Dagestani wrestler as you can be and not be Dagestani, from the country of Georgia, like Giga Chikadze and I think a couple other great fighters. I mean, Merab probably should win this fight, but Marlon's back is against the wall, and Marlon has fought really good wrestlers. I'm not counting out Marlon here. Obviously, there's no money to bet Merab by decision. What is that, like minus 300 if you had to look? It's got to be terrible.
It would definitely be less than minus 250. It would be by decision. What the hell is it? By decision plus 125.
Okay, so that's not a bad bet because Merab is beating everyone by decision. However, people are stopping Marlon. I know there's going to be people on the one side that say that the best bet, as always, is Merab by decision, and that could very well happen. But I think that Marlon's going to bring something here. Merab seems like a really great dude. And, it's interesting because a lot of people, if asked who's going to win from that school in the next few months, Merab or Aljo, they're going to say Aljo loses easily, Merab wins easily. And I'm going to put it here, it may be the reverse. Merab may lose here, and Aljo may beat Peter Yan, despite the fact that nobody thinks he will. So forgetting about that second fight for now, I would put a little bit of money on Marlon. His back's to the wall, and it may be money flushed down the toilet, but with a tiny bit of confidence, I think there may be a surprise here with Marlon Moraes.
Well, gotta put it this way: he needs it done in round one, or he loses.
Probably so.
He's got 5 minutes of gas tank, and that's it. And guess who has an endless amount of gas tank?
Merab.
Merab Dvalishvili.
Yep.
And the dude's got he's got a chin on him too. He could take a punch. He's a little erratic. He throws some crazy shots. Throws wild techniques at you, spinning attacks, leg kicks, just comes forward. He's got some crazy pace, crazy pressure. He just throws everything, in the kitchen sink at you.
Yeah.
And Moraes is going to have to be very methodical and precise on his strikes, uses leg kicks, uses movement. Those leg kicks are going to hit early and it's going to hit often. It might clip him off the top of the head at some point. It's possible. As Merab comes bowling forward like he always does. I heard that Merab is going to want to stand and trade a little bit more than he normally should. That's a little bit of a concern, especially as someone that's minus 250. But I do think he gets it done. He's got the much higher ceiling. He's arguably one of the rising stars in the bantamweight division. And he's been a cash cow for me ever since, after the Simone fight, because I've bet on Ricky in that fight. But yeah, it's hard for me to go against Merab here. I like him by decision. You can get that all the way down to my plus 125. Maybe Merab gets his first finish. It's possible. But I think he just goes in there and just beats him up for, the entirety of 15 minutes and gets the job done. Plus 125 on the decision. I think Merab at minus 250 is a pretty decent parlay piece with someone like Tyler Santos. Gets it all the way down to minus 133. Not terrible at all. You can even do hold on a second, let me check. You got Semmelsberger if you wanted to do it. Tyler Santos and Merab at plus 107. I mean, plus 107 on, I want to say sure fights or locks, because there's no sure fights, there's no locks. It's MMA, anything could happen. But that's pretty damn close to it. If I had to see one, a plus 105, a plus 107, that's not bad. But yeah, I got Merab. But moving on, in the women's flyweight division, we have a fight between Cynthia Calvillo and Jessica Andrade. Right now, Andrade is on minus 290 favorite, and the comeback on Calvillo is a plus 225 underdog. Who do you got?
For a while there, no one would have ever thought Cynthia Calvillo would be a 3-1 dog again. And it's just kind of unfortunate that she is. Let's take a look at this fight here. I'll give just a bunch of stats and opinions, and save the editorials in effort to economize time. Cynthia Calvillo, Cindy, as some people know her, 34 years old, which is not in your prime as a 125-pound fighter.
Coming off surgery as well.
Yeah, good call. Good research on that. Yeah, definitely. But you know what? She's tough. She doesn't have a lot of abuse on her. She's only had 11 fights. She's only been a pro for 5 years at 34 years old. That's odd.
Crazy.
That is very unusual. You know what? She had a long as hell amateur career, though. Look at that. She started as an amateur 9 years ago. She actually had looks like 10 fights and went 9-1 in an amateur, with her last fight beating Aspen Ladd. But Aspen had to be 19 years old then or something like that, and is probably partly why Calvillo beat her. But anyway, so Calvillo looking great. Had a loss against Carla Esparza, although it was a really close fight. Were it not for that, she was on this 10-fight win streak. She would have been on a 10-fight win streak had she not lost to Esparza. She does get a majority draw against Marina Rodriguez. Rodriguez is a beast who's going to be fighting Mackenzie Dern. She then beats Jessica Ai. The perplexing thing, and I actually called this, I actually think I bet 2 units against her on this fight, was Caitlin Chookagian, or Caitlin Chookagian, if you will. It was just way too tall and long and experienced, and I knew that was a bad matchup. Afterward, I wish I had bet 5 units or 10 units on her, but only 2. But she did look bad there. She looked so small. She looked like literally she was big-sistered in that fight. And but now she's up against a girl who's her size again. The difference is Bata Estaca, the pile driver, Jessica Andrade, was a bantamweight for quite a while, did go down to strawweight because there wasn't any flyweight division. I don't know how she made it. She killed herself to make that weight. And I think in a couple of her fights, she was compromised because she cut so much weight. She is at her weight class now. And she's going to be the bigger girl than Calvillo for sure. But height-wise, they're about the same. Actually, Calvillo might have an inch advantage. I think that Andrade coming off not looking good at all against Shevchenko and then having stopped Chookagian. I guess MMA math, if you look at it this way, Andrade just made short work of Chookagian, and I was on the right side on that bet too. And whereas Chookagian just owned Calvillo. So based on MMA math, it should be Andrade all day. I think it's going to be tougher than that. I think Calvillo is going to give it a tough shot here. It's going to be a close fight. I think this fight definitely goes the distance, but I think Andrade wins. And I think it's anywhere from a little bit of a struggle to not a struggle at all. But I don't think Calvillo won't have her moments. I think she'll have her moments.
Yeah. I don't want to lay a minus 290 line on Andrade. I do think she's the better fighter overall in every aspect. The only thing is Calvillo is going to be the faster fighter. She's going to be the longer fighter. So she's going to be able to dictate, the speed of the fight. She's going to be able to use her length to keep out of harm's way because we know, how Andrade just comes forward, throws a heavy overhand right, try to, clock you, get into the clinch and take you down, drop you on your skull and, try to knock you out. But it's just hard. It's hard for me to take Calvillo because I just don't see her winning the fight.
Yeah,
at 115, she's not winning. She's not beating Andrade. At 125, right. She's still not beating Andrade either.
Yeah, and it brings up that question. If you were a high-level black belt and we're going to try to have a fight with a guy who you knew was way more powerful than you, would you be that anxious to lock up with him on the ground? It's kind of like, shit. Jiu-jitsu says yes. Jiu-jitsu says your techniques, you can catch something. But it's not going to be easy. I've gone against guys like that, and a lot of times they just, with their weight and strength, just pop you off them. And, you're trying to grab something, and they're just like, fuck no, and just push you right back off of them. So, but that Cynthia's only chance probably is to get it on the ground, but it's going to be weird. Anyway, go ahead with your final thoughts.
No, I was just saying. I think Andrade wins. I just don't like the line. Maybe you could throw her in, into some parlays. I wouldn't go too heavy on it, but I think she's the right side. I do think she dominates. Cynthia's been working on her Wrestle Extreme Couture. Yes, that's true, but how much better is she gonna get with her wrestling over a year off plus surgery to beat somebody who's been good at wrestling for the most part and is not on the level of wrestling of Valentina Shevchenko to really exploit any type of grappling weakness that Andrade has? I don't think Cynthia is that type of person to really, to exploit that weakness. I don't think she's strong enough to exploit that weakness. I think Andrade is the much stronger of the two. If you watch Calvillo in her last fight, she doesn't look a 125, or she doesn't look as big. She just looked like she doesn't cut that much weight.
Yeah.
But we'll see how this goes. Like I said, minus 290, not the greatest line. And I understand people trying to take the dog here plus 225. And I totally understand that because it's juicy. And Andrade minus 290. That's very
real quick thing I want to throw in a thank you to Jason Laporte for giving us credit, saying that we're you love it, and I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you being here. He mentions a couple good things with Cynthia Calvillo really working on her wrestling over at Extreme Couture. I could see Calvillo winning this fight. Andrade is. She's Brazilian, so she's got some jiu-jitsu, just it seems like innately as Brazilians have, and they get it, but she doesn't like it that much, and Cindy is definitely the higher-ranked jiu-jitsu player, and if Cynthia can actually get some wrestling and threaten Andrade, kind of like Shevchenko was doing, she could win this fight. So, Jason, you make a good point. And, if anything, maybe a half a unit on the dog here. Probably it won't come through, but I have a feeling Cynthia's going to come up with something, especially if she gets her wrestling down and can have that in Andrade's mind. Andrade may be still a little shell-shocked from that Shevchenko fight, and that might be all it takes.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely possible. I think the fight's gonna be a lot closer than the line suggests.
Yeah,
that's kind of why I don't want to lay minus 290 on a sweat. I don't want, if I'm betting minus 290, I want some domination, please.
Yeah. Without a doubt, and confidence that will happen, and that's not in this case. I agree.
All right, next up, we have a fight in the heavyweight division between Curtis Razor Blades and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Right now, Blades is a minus 350 favorite, and the comeback on Rozenstruik is a plus 265 underdog. Who do you got?
Okay, Curtis is a great dude. I had him on our show 2 years ago. I came up with a great line that he loved. I said that when these other guys that like to talk trash against you end up on fight day, they find out that if you mess with the razor, you get the blades.
I like it.
He liked it. He said that's awesome, because he is Curtis the Razor Blades, right? So that's why I pulled that out of my hat, let's say. Anyway, Curtis is a super cool dude. He's still young, right? He's got such an unusual body, man. He looks like a wrestler, but like a lanky, long torso wrestler, which is not a lot of wrestlers. Wrestlers have just normally this great V shape and are so V-shaped and wide, and Curtis is so tall. Curtis looks like a guy who, when he was in his late teens and early 20s, was probably barely 200 pounds at 6'4", and it just has kind of filled out since then. But he's so athletic. He moves so well. So his kryptonite has been super powerful, big, heavy, strong guys. He was beating Derek Lewis for a round and a half until he got caught. And it's weird because the last shot he made looked almost like he was either tired or he was just so confident, because I think he had a couple of successful takedowns before that. And instead of making sure he shot in low and fast, he kind of essentially bull rushed or bum rushed Lewis, and his head was kind of high, and it was always like, all right, I'm going to take this big fat guy down, and came in there, bam, got caught coming in. I asked a friend about the fact that wouldn't the perfect strategy be just low shot, ankle pick all day for Curtis? And my friend said, I think it was actually my friend Adam on the air. We were talking, and Adam wrestled in junior high and high school. And he said, it's just, because he said, you don't see that with heavyweights a lot, do you? And I said, no, I don't. Why? And he said, it's harder. There's so much weight. They're not super fast, and their muscles will fatigue out so quickly if they have to keep shooting super low for ankle picks. He said it's just unusual. If anyone could do it, Curtis maybe could, because he's super athletic and he's not an overly muscled guy. But he better shoot low enough against Rozenstruik, because Rozenstruik has that power from hell. Both of them need a victory here. Curtis has got a great record of 14-3, but it just seems like right whenever he gets anywhere, he loses. And at 30 years old, he's still young in heavyweight division, but he really needs this. Rozenstruik has 2 losses also that hurt him. He looked like a fool against Cyril Gane, but we've learned that Cyril Gane can make almost anyone look that way. And then he got caught by Ngannou. This is a tough fight. I think Rozenstruik is in this fight. I wouldn't want to lay the chalk because the chalk is kind of absolutely crazy here at 3.5 to 1 blade. So for the hell of it, I would put 1 unit on Rozenstruik to catch the lightning in a bottle in this fight. I think it can happen, but wouldn't bet super heavy on it. But I like Curtis. I would hate to see him lose, but they're both good guys. Rozenstruik, I think, has a better shot than the odds makers are giving him. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like Blades, as a person, as a fighter as well. I think he should win this fight, but man, minus 300 is absolutely crazy to lay in a heavyweight fight, especially given the recent resume of Blades and getting knocked out against very heavy, powerful punchers. But Rozenstruik, he looked good in his last fight, as we saw against Sakai. Got that knockout, got his, a win back in his under his cap. Blades hasn't fought since that Lewis fight, so this would be his first fight back after getting brutally knocked out. Man, I do think Blades should be able to win this fight. I do think he will be able to avoid the power punches, and I do think he'll be able to take down Rosenstruik repeatedly. I do think Rosenstruik doesn't have good takedown defense, and I think Blades will be able to penetrate it very, very easily and get him to the mat. Maybe get a finish, maybe just grind it out for 15 minutes. But I do think Blades wins. But am I going to bet it? No. Am I going to put him on parlays? No, because anything can happen. One punch. It's one single punch.
Exactly. And did you notice that Rosenstruik went from training somewhere in Suriname to training at ATT?
Right. I mean, that he's been training at ATT for a little bit now, for the last, I think, 3 or 4 fights. So, he's been evolving, but it's against guys that he can beat and guys that aren't better than him. Yeah, whereas I think Blades is better than him.
Yeah, this is going to be a real telling fight. The winner is right in the thick of things, and the loser goes back. Funny enough, the heavyweight division is not that deep right now, so the loser might even still stay in the top 10 or at least the top 15. But
probably will. They probably will.
But the winner is going to be absolutely relevant and in talks for near, very near future title contention, possibly title shot.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna keep it moving, and next up we have a fight at 185 pounds between Nick Diaz, the return of Nick Diaz, and Robbie Lawler. Right now, Robbie is a minus 145 favorite, and the comeback on Nick Diaz is a plus 120 underdog. Who do you got?
So, I mean, we'll break this down. I'll break this down with you, but anyone wants to bet on this fight, good luck. I don't see anybody get any read on this. Let me take a quick sip of water here.
No, you're good. Yeah, nope, not happening. I'm staying far, far away from this fight. I'll enjoy it for however long it lasts, which is now a 5-rounder as well. So we talked about this earlier in the broadcast that Nick Diaz was able to change the weight of this fight, and he was able to change the number of rounds in this fight in the last week. So he was able to get this fight from 171 to 185, and was able to get it from 3 rounds to 5 rounds. So he gives himself 2 more rounds to win, and he gives himself 15 more extra pounds that he doesn't need to cut.
I mean, what else is he going to dictate? Is Robbie Lawler going to have to show up wearing pink shorts that are Brazilian style, like a Speedo back in the early no-holds-barred days? I mean, no disrespect at all toward Robbie. I will all respect to you, but it's Nick keeps on dictating this crazy shit here, and I think that Robbie has been a gentleman to say, all right, let's do it. Let's do what I want this fight. Probably because he has that confidence. And not only that, Robbie is a beast. Bottom line is Robbie won't be wearing pink shorts for anyone. So that's not what I was alluding to. But he's been very kind to let this shit happen here and do what Nick Diaz wants. Also, thank you. Great comments from Jason. Appreciate that, brother. And yeah, I'm with you on that last fight. 3-1, too much on heavyweights. Anyway, so Nick Diaz, a 38-year-old fighter, and I think he has almost 20 years in the game. Yes, 20 years as a pro MMA fighter.
He was 18. That's crazy.
Yeah, he was 18. So a long time, but 35 fights are not that many fights in 20 years. That adds up to what, 1.5 fights in a year or something. My math is probably off. But the weird thing is that 5-6 years off. And in the previous 4 years, he had 4 fights. So in essence, since 2011, he's had 4 fights in 10 years. And his last win was the BJ Penn fight 10 years ago. Carlos Condit did stick and move and didn't embarrass Nick, but did clearly win that fight despite what Nick thought. George St. Pierre pretty much did what people thought he was going to do, except Nick put up even less resistance than people thought. Anderson Silva was one of the weirdest fights, and then the suspension for Nick Diaz. He didn't just for shits and giggles sit out for several years. He had a suspension from marijuana, which in retrospect really sucks because now it's legal everywhere, including for MMA fighting or UFC to an extent, and it's just too bad that he lost 5 years of his livelihood. Anyway, so he's coming back. He's acting strange. He always acted weird and strange. he always, one of the things he used to say, which is a big difference between him and his brother Nate, is Nate always had a kind of a what the fuck, funny stuff, funny sense of humor, and he likes fighting. And it's almost like Nate is Nick when Nick was younger. And even though they're only 2 years apart, but Nick for the last several fights have been saying, people are pushing me to fight. I'm going in there against these killers. I'm not being compensated well enough. And I'm going in there risking my brain cells to fight because people are pushing me to fight. I'm not really wanting to fight, and I'm not happy. And here I am fighting again. And again, he's saying the same stuff. It's just the oddest thing. I've never heard anyone but Nick Diaz have the approach that I'm being pushed by various sources to fight and make six-figure paychecks. It's an odd statement. And but now that he's older, some people are saying, it's weird now because at 38, I mean, he's not 58 like Evander Holyfield, but if he really doesn't want to be fighting now, but then again, look who he is. He's a beast. He's a warrior. So I think some of that may be a smokescreen. He has not had near the abuse on his body as Lawler. Lawler, I think, also has 20. No, Lawler's going to have more than 20 years in the sport. Let me see. Lawler has 20 years. Yep. Again, both guys pro 2001. Anyway, they fought in 2004, and Nick Diaz won by KO in an amazing fight. They were both super young. There's no way to know. We have no idea what Nick Diaz has left. As I was saying earlier, the fact that Nick Diaz will probably come in heavier, springing the surprise of a 185 weight class when Lawler was probably at least a few days into his weight cut. There's no way to know here, but I think probably Robbie Lawler. You know what? I can't even say that. I have no idea. If Nick Diaz looks great, then we know Robbie Lawler is not beating anyone that looks great nowadays. So after the first round, I think a majority of us will be able to nod our head and say, okay, I see what's happening here. And even then we might be wrong, but we have a 39-year-old against a 38-year-old, and all Lawler has done is lose for the last 4 years, 4 fights. But he's only got stopped by Askren in that controversial choke. Maybe bet that this goes the distance, although I don't even think that's safe. Nothing's safe here. Everything's a money suck here. Everything's an X factor. Stay away from this fight is what I'd say.
Yeah, this is a tough one. You got two guys that are over the hills that probably shouldn't be fighting anymore, facing off against each other for a second time, like a decade later. For what reason? I don't know.
Michael Cook wants to know the odds on a draw.
And odds on a draw. What do we got? Odds on a draw.
Plus about 10,000, maybe.
Draw. Where the hell is it? I can't even find it. There's like 96 props.
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about it too much if you don't want. But that almost seems unlikely because I just have a feeling one of these guys is going to realize that they have way more left than the other guy and just school him.
Yeah. The under 4.5 rounds looks like it's like plus 120, which would be crazy. I kind of like that, but you have to figure that the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Nick Diaz, which is why he wanted 5 rounds. So he feels that if he gets it out of round 3, the odds of him winning is exponentially higher.
Yeah, I think he's much more chin because he's been seeing Robbie's chin get checked for the last 4 years.
So, I mean, you got all that. He should be the fresher fighter. Doesn't look like the more athletic fighter, I'll tell you that from what I've seen.
He looks weird. Yeah.
He just looks slow, and I know it's just shadow boxing in front of a camera, and I get it, but he just doesn't look the same. His body type is not the same. Right. So it's that's why it's like a stay away, because I don't want to bet on Lawler because he hasn't won in forever. And then you have Nick Diaz, who hasn't fought in forever. So it's, why the hell am I betting on this? I'd rather just let it ride, watch what happens and just enjoy the fight. But if I'm taking a side, probably have to go with Lawler because he's been fighting. He doesn't have to go up in weight. He just took it because he needed, because he had to take it. But he just looks in better shape. He's fought before. It's just, I don't know.
Right.
I'm
Check this out.
not betting on this.
I agree. Huge odds. Jason Laporte's finding at one site plus 5,000 on a draw, and another site plus 6,600 on a draw.
I think it should be higher because I don't see a draw happening.
Yeah, that would be a long shot. It'd be interesting though. But obviously the guy that probably wants this more is Robbie to get it back from 16 years ago. So probably the case. Anyway, next up, whenever you're ready.
All right, next up, we have our co-main event in the flyweight division between Valentina Shevchenko looking to retain her title against Lauren Murphy. Right now, Shevchenko is a massive minus 2,000 favorite. And the comeback on Lauren Murphy is a plus 920 underdog. That is insane. There shouldn't be too much breakdown on this one because pretty sure you're where I'm at on this, but who do you got?
So it's a really interesting fight here. Lauren is tough. I had her on my show. In fact, we were talking to her before anyone was talking about her. And then after she won a fight and she had that announcement that media people suck and everyone's not giving her credit, fuck everyone. And, I wasn't one of the people that did that. We had a great interview with her, fantastic interview. But then after that, I think she just shut out media. I was kind of disappointed because I had been supportive of her the whole time. I even bought her shirt. I have a green shirt, make your own luck. You know what I mean? So anyway, come back and reward people that supported you, Lauren. That'd be awesome. I appreciate you. Anyway, she's a strong girl. She's not going to go in there and get embarrassed. Andrade went in there and got embarrassed because I think she didn't realize how strong Shevchenko was, and she didn't have any idea that Shevchenko would grapple her and wrestle her, which was a brilliant plan. Shevchenko and her team are very smart, and Shevchenko is such a balanced fighter. I give her striking a 10. I give her wrestling now like an 8, and I give her jiu-jitsu now like a 8.5. That's going up against a girl who's got probably 9.5 jiu-jitsu, 8 wrestling, and 6 striking. So not a huge disparity, but a little bit of a disparity. On this fight, I think that Valentina is not going to be thinking about trying to clinch and grapple at all. Lauren Murphy is probably going to be the stronger girl in there and the bigger girl, although not by a lot. She's also the older girl, 38 versus 33, which is pretty significant in age difference. This is Lauren Murphy's last hurrah, though. So Lauren's going to go at it hard. Lauren has been looking amazing. She's come into her own, even though she's outside her prime. Her shoulders are popping. Her definition is amazing. Her conditioning, she looks incredible. She's going to go for it. I don't see her winning, but at these odds, would I probably put $5 or $10 on it for shits and giggles? Yeah, I would. But I don't know. I think Shevchenko is too good. At 33 years old, I don't know who beats her, Garrett. I mean, someone's gonna have to come with this amazing striking and this great, fantastic wrestling.
Mano Ferro.
Maybe. I know you're pretty high on her. Furo is tough, and we're going to find out. And I think that it's possible in the end, although I think that right now it's a little bit early to tell on that. But it probably isn't Lauren Murphy, and so that's that prop bet. I think it's going to be hard for Valentina to stop Lauren, although maybe not impossible. Lauren, though, I don't think Lauren's ever been stopped, so it probably is going to be very hard. So you know what? What's the odds that say fight goes to decision, or that says Valentina by decision?
Fight goes to decision plus 178. Shevchenko to win a decision plus 200.
Those are my bets right there. Probably both of them.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Shevchenko to win inside the distance is minus 250. Geez, minus 200. Yeah, I'd rather take a shot on Shevchenko to win a decision. I just don't see Murphy really doing much to even have a chance in this fight. I know she'll put up a good fight. She maybe get some takedowns. She maybe be getting some, clinch time against the cage because that's where she's most comfortable. But at distance, she's going to get picked apart. I feel like she'll be able to get taken down by Shevchenko. And I feel like, Shevchenko is just an all-around better fighter pretty much anywhere this fight goes. But keeping this fight on the feet is probably the best bet for Shevchenko to win this fight and possibly getting the finish. But I got Valentina winning this fight. I got her winning by decision plus 200. I got the over. Give me the over 2.5 rounds at minus 112. I really like that there as well. I think that's a really good bet. So yeah, I'm looking towards more of this fight going later in the rounds than finishing early. So yeah, that's my bets on this fight. There's not much really could do here. I just think Valentina wins. I think she wins convincingly, and I think it goes deeper into the fight. So give me the over 2.5 rounds. Shevchenko by decision, and possibly the fight goes to a decision at plus 178.
Yeah, I like those. And like I said, though, I may put like a half or a quarter unit on Murphy to win because the odds are so big. Thank you for Jason Laporte saying, I like your style. Appreciate your brother a lot. And the bet. And then also Michael Cook is mentioning there that Shevchenko on points. And yeah, I think, Michael, you're thinking the way we're thinking as well. And Jason as well. Thank you. I appreciate the comments there a lot again, Jason. And Garrett Kerman on to the main event, if you are ready.
The main event of the evening in the featherweight division. We have a fight between Alexander the Great Volkanovski looking to defend his featherweight championship against Brian T. City Ortega. Right now, the line is set at minus 175 for Volkanovski, and the comeback on Ortega is a plus 145 underdog. Who do you got?
Gotcha. Well, first, let me do this. I think maybe I'll do this before each main event that we do, and I don't think we could get in any trouble for this. I don't think so. But
I think
here we go. It's time for the main event of the evening with Garrett Kerman and Colin Crandall with the breakdown for UFC 266. And we're talking about the amazing matchup for the UFC Men's Featherweight Championship of the World. Alexander Volkanovski from Australia against Brian T. City Ortega from the United States, Arizona, I believe to be exact, with his girlfriend Tracy Cortez, UFC fighter in tow, and a lot of other amazing people. And here we go with the breakdown. Colin Crandall, we'll go first. Okay, what do I think? I love this fight. This is a great fight. Hope you like that, Garrett Kerman. Thank you. And hope you guys like that. So this is a very interesting fight. I've been talking about this a lot this week. The champ, Alexander Volkanovski, I actually did bet for him when I was there in person, and I bet on him to beat Holloway, but like $30, I think it was, So, but I did make a little bit of money on him winning the title. A very, very tough guy. A lot of people believe he lost the second fight to Holloway. It was really, really close. I agree. He is 22-1. His last loss was against someone named Corey Nelson in Australia 8 years ago, and that was in his fourth fight. So he's on like an 18-fight winning streak over the last 8 years. A lot of decisions, but that's because he's going up against all the best. He's kind of a shorter guy at 5'6", 145. He doesn't have completely the T-Rex arms, but he definitely doesn't have a long reach. So the reach is going to go to Ortega, 2 inches in height, to Ortega, if not 3. Let me see. They have him as 5'9", 3 inches in height. 30 years old for T. City Ortega, right in his prime as a featherweight, but maybe middle or near the end of his prime. 32 years old, so right at the end of his prime for the great. No big significance in the age difference of 2 years. If it weren't for that last fight with Ortega looking completely like Ortega 2.0 with that striking where he just pieced up the Korean Zombie, and I have heard the Zombie was kind of injured or compromised in some way in that fight. Were it not for that, then coming off the Holloway fight, Ortega would be like plus 500 here. But because of how good he looked in one fight, everyone's believing that he's the new Ortega. Is it possible? Yeah, it is. The interesting thing is Volkanovski is a short, fast fighter that doesn't spend much time on the ground because he's a good wrestler. He's the better wrestler than Ortega, which is a little bit unusual because he's an Australian growing up in Australia, but Ortega didn't grow up in the freestyle wrestling system or Greco. He's a jiu-jitsu guy, but a really good black belt. My question is this. The wrestler in Volkanovski likes to be able to threaten with the takedown and mix that in. Is he going to want to do that with a longer, better jiu-jitsu guy and a really good black belt? Because if he doesn't, if he is wanting no part of any takedowns, that's going to put him at a psychological disadvantage. And if Brian Ortega starts to see that, Ortega is going to start walking him down. And that will be all bad. So Volkanovski has to be confident in the fact that he'll use his T-Rex arms and he'll pull them out. Everyone knows in jiu-jitsu, you're not trying to yank anything out to the side. You're denying someone by saying, nope, 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 pulling, retracting your arms. And if he does that, he stays away from being caught and keeps his posture up when he's, when he can be high mount or compressed, but not in the middle, stays out of that triangle range, he should be okay. I think he wins it. I think there's going to be a few scares. I just don't think that Ortega makes it as close as people think. And I really could be wrong. I don't have a shit ton of confidence in this fight, but I do think the odds are correct. And I like Volkanovski by decision and on a straight bet. What kind of money can we get on Volkanovski decision?
Plus 130.
Yeah, I like that then. I like that and a straight bet Volkanovski. I really could be wrong, but the only way that that Ortega wins is by sub, and I think it's going to be he would have to win by sub in the second round. Otherwise, it's just going to get too sweaty and slippery in there, and his chances are going to diminish from there.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you there. I don't even think, to be honest, I don't think Ortega even deserves a shot at the title. The only reason why he really got a shot at the title is because they got no one else. He's the only one. Yeah, because you're not going to give Max Holloway another shot at the title, so they have to give someone different. And in the way that Ortega came back after 2 years off, looked phenomenal against the Korean Zombie. I get it. And
Zabit was hurt. Otherwise, they might have given it to Zabit.
Right. And who I do think deserves a title shot, but it is what it is. But then Ortega, I know he looked phenomenal in that fight. He looked like a different striker, but he's facing Korean Zombie, who's just come forward, don't move your head, stand in the middle, stand right in your face, let you hit him. That's the type of fighter he is. He's just punch for punch. Alexander Volkanovski is not like that. He's got really good technical striking. He's outstriking his opponents by over 2-to-1 ratio as well. He's landing over 6 strikes per minute, landing 55%. That means he's throwing over 12 strikes per minute and landing over 55%. That's insane. And then on top of it, the way that Ortega leans very heavy on that lead leg, Alexander Volkanovski is going to eat that leg up. He loves throwing the low calf kick. He did against Max Holloway, I think 170-something times in the 2 fights that they had, if I'm not mistaken.
I think,
He's thrown almost 200 leg kicks in 2 fights because he knows that hinders the movement of his opponent. That makes them stationary. And that's when he started to tee off on Max Holloway. I kind of see more of the same going on here. Thing is, Ortega always have come from behind wins. He's very opportunistic. He's a finisher by trade. He's got knockouts. He's got submissions. So he's always dangerous no matter what time it is of the fight. So that's always a worry, betting against him. But I just think Volkanovski is the better fighter. I think he's going to be the champion for a while now. I was high on him coming into the UFC, and I was high on him all the way up until his title reign. And I'm still going with him here. It's hard not to. And you're right, Michael. Volkanovski used to play rugby, I believe, at 210 pounds.
Yeah.
And now he's all the way down to 145 and fighting in the UFC. It's just crazy.
Strong dude. He's a fun-loving guy. Aussies are fun people, right? And like I could see him hanging out with Robert Whittaker and those guys having a blast. You know what I mean? I mean, really good folks. You know what I mean? And he just, let's say it's hard to imagine anyone starting a beef leading up to a fight with Alexander Volkanovski. He's just this little happy Australian beast, like the Tasmanian devil, yeah, he's great. It's going to be hard for T-City.
The only worry I have is that this is the longest layoff he's had in his professional career. He's also had COVID as well. Obviously, he says there's no lingering effects, but he's yet to fight since having COVID. So, we'll see what happens. But I do think he is a better fighter, and I do think he gets his hand raised. And his striking is just a lot better than Ortega. Even with that new age Ortega, his striking is still a lot better. For Volkanovski to do what he did against Max Holloway, not once but twice.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes. It really does.
Yeah, so. MMA math though would say for sure, although we know MMA math is not always right. But in this case, I definitely think it will be. I think I made my hair messier. Great call, Colin. Anyway, what the fuck? I can't see. I'm looking at a mirror image here of Camera. Anyway, here we go. Anyway, I got the fight analyst Garrett Kerman going. No, okay. But yeah, I think Volkanovski, he's going to be hard to beat, and I think T-City is going to be. I think T-City has all the confidence in the world, but it's not going to get it here. And I think it's going to be interesting because if Volk starts piecing him up, I mean, he doesn't have the reach to probably just piece him up like Holloway did. And but if it starts going really south for T-City, I just wonder what T-City is going to do. If he's going to have flashbacks to where he was just being completely pieced up. I mean, he showed so much courage though in that fight. But man, I would hate to be him if it just starts going super sour again. Because I don't know what he'll do. Who knows? Maybe he can dig deep. I mean, MMA, I've always said, is the chess match of fighting, and so just one technique thrown when the other guy doesn't see it coming can end things. I mean, in all honesty, all of us know that if somehow, what do you call him, the champ, Volkanovski takes a breath or stays a little bit too low for too long, and T-City comes up with a big knee, that can end the fight right there.
Like I said, he's very opportunistic. Anything can happen in this fight. Kind of the reason why I don't want to go too heavy on Volkanovski, because Ortega is still a good fighter, very dangerous fighter.
Yes.
And like I said, long layoff, hasn't fought since having COVID, so we don't know what we're going to get there. But I do think Volkanovski retains his title. I think he still stays the champion, and we get another Volkanovski Max Holloway matchup.
Yeah. Could very well be. Although you remember, sorry to interrupt you. Remember, I feel this is the deepest division of the UFC. So I agree. Max, you're right. I definitely think Max is definitely great, but also real interesting point. Brad Riddell could be his striking coach. If so, that's huge. I love Brad Riddell, and he's a.
I mean, he's normally a striking coach, but Volkanovski hasn't trained at City Kickboxing in his last, I think, 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah. So, and I think it'd be hard for anyone to get out of Australia,
and that's why he hasn't been training with them.
Yeah. So, but good point, Michael. But anyway, I mean, Max could get it next. Or Zabit is back. He could get it. Josh Emmett could get that smoke. Giga Chikadze could get that smoke.
Giga would be good.
Yair Rodriguez. I mean, there's just so many killers there. But I think the champ makes a statement here, and I just have a feeling that if there's a dominant performance here by Volkanovski, I really think that's going to take a lot of steam, wind out of the sails of T-City. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not, no disrespect to Brian Ortega, but I have a feeling he's 100% laser focused on being the champ Saturday night, and I think it's going to be tough for him when that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree as well. But that's what we got. That's UFC 266. That's our breakdown for this week. Thank you all so very much for joining us. But before we go, my man, Colin Crandall, where can everybody find you on social media?
So I think there are actually a few Colin Crandalls on social media, but if you look at my picture, I'm the only one that has a picture of this face. I'm connected to the MMA Power Hour, right? Other Colin Crandalls have different faces. On Twitter, it's at Colin Crandall 33, and then the title shows Colin Crandall MMA. And then Instagram, I think the Instagram is going to be a similar thing, yeah. And my T-shirt brand is Cross Trained MMA Fighter. Look that up. I've got a few T-shirts left in medium and small size. But MMA Power Hour on Fight TV and on the Hannibal TV. Think Hannibal the Cannibal from what the hell was the name of that movie again? Silence of the Lambs. And that's at the Hannibal TV. You can see on Facebook and on YouTube a lot of our content. We're off for the next 3 weeks as far as officially, but our time slot of 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to get Garrett Kerman here at least one of those weeks. We're going to do the breakdown on a Tuesday, and then might even, if Garrett has time, bring him in on just kind of a breakdown with a couple other people on another Tuesday. But always 6 to 8 p.m. is my slot. And Michael Cook says the AK Tim Kennedy. I love it. Thank you for that, Michael Cook. And you're very welcome. Glad you enjoyed the show. Big shout out to Tim Kennedy. What a stud to go back in the military in his mid-30s at 35 years old, right? To say, you know what, I'll go back and risk my life and eat out of a can and crawl on the ground with guys in their late teens and 20s. Big stud, huge respect. Love to be compared with Tim Kennedy, even if it's just a look. But yeah, Garrett Kerman, you're the best. I really appreciate it. I'll let you wrap it up, but that's where you can find me, MMA Power Hour, and the breakdown every week with the man himself, the fight analyst, Garrett Kerman. Always a pleasure, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. We're had a blast here breaking down the fights, but you guys know where to find me at Fight Analyst LLC on Twitter, the Fight Analyst LLC on Instagram, and the Fight Analysts on Facebook. And guys, also, I need you guys to go over to Playmaker KO. Give them a follow on Instagram and give them a follow on all social media platforms. I'm helping build the MMA space over there. We're going to be bringing you great MMA content, great MMA shows. We got a lot of things in the works over at Playmaker. So guys, go over there and give them a follow and like their page as well. So that's what we got for you this week, but we will see you all cashing out at the ticket window. Until next time, you guys have a great night. Adios. We are out of here. Bye.
Peace.